Don't be a nice driver, be a sensible driver. And what I mean by a nice driver is the overly courteous driver who gives up their right of way when it's not necessary and doesn't actually make any sense to do it, or when it causes a hazardous situation. Being overly nice in this way usually causes more problems than it tries to solve. But let's start with some examples of being nice that do make sense, are not required by law or prudence, are usually legal to do, and that aren't a setup for danger. First example, you're in stop and slow traffic, but you decide to leave a gap in front of you so that a driver coming out of this driveway can turn right. It makes sense because you're already stopped because of backed up traffic, and there's no danger of his hitting a vehicle he can't see coming because he's not crossing anyone else's path. Second example, you're on a multi-lane roadway and someone ahead of you wants to change lanes, so they put their turn signal on. If letting them change lanes in front of you only requires taking your foot off the gas and slowing down slightly or maintaining your speed, and you have nobody tailgating you, that makes sense and is not likely putting you in danger of being rear-ended because you're not hitting the brakes for your good deed. But there are far more instances when being nice causes more harm than good. Like this driver here who gave up their right-of-way to an oncoming driver intending to turn left across 2 lanes. The rightmost lane the turning driver had no clear view of. Or this ignorant man that waved another driver over here to turn left that had no view of traffic coming from his right. That was my stuff flying off the seats and my drink spilling everywhere. You almost caused a crash. Watch where you're going. It doesn't, but you didn't look my way.
I did, but they
No,
let me in.
you didn't look my way. You didn't look my way. In both of these examples, being nice was a setup for extreme danger and was also the fault of the driver turning. It's been claimed that you could be partially financially liable in the event an accident occurs if you encourage a driver to turn blindly. If this driver had been stopping short of the intersection for the sake of not blocking it, then that would be legit, because blocking an intersection is generally illegal. However, there was no stop traffic in front of him and he came to a complete stop unexpectedly to allow this driver to turn left. Not only did he risk being rear-ended, but his stopping in this case was illegal, and he could have been cited for impeding traffic. Not smart. Even more dangerous to do on a freeway at high speeds, like this one who practically stops on the freeway to let not one, but 3 drivers go. This could have led to a pile-up crash. Here's a similar scenario. This driver wants to turn out of this driveway. There's a green light ahead, but this genius decides to stop traffic to let the other driver turn out. The problem is, every driver behind her will now miss the light and be delayed unnecessarily. It was this driver's responsibility to wait for an opening in traffic, not for this driver to create the opening. Her niceness was illogical and not beneficial in the big picture. Think about it. In order to help one driver, she inconveniences multiple drivers behind her. The net effect? More people disrupted than assisted. She interrupted the expected flow of traffic. And this guy. This guy's been really nice. He's totally blocking traffic up there because he's trying to let everybody go. Being overly nice also often causes confusion. This driver pulling into the center is slowing down and waiting for traffic to pass before proceeding into the travel lane just as she's legally required to do. But this old lady turns a traffic rule book on its head. She slows down drastically to let her merge, putting herself, me, and others at risk of being rear-ended. God, let her figure it out. And yes, this driver was on the wrong side of the double yellow line, but you get the point. You have intending to wait plus intending to let her go equals confusion and thus a dangerous situation. Confusion sometimes leads to accidents, like driver number 1 giving up their right-of-way to let driver number 2 go. When driver number 2 hesitates, driver number 1 gives up and starts to go. By then, driver number 2 thinks that driver number 1 is still letting him go. So he goes, and then they crash. The rules of the road exist for a reason. The laws establish order and structure to traffic flow. They dictate who must yield to whom, under particular circumstances. These established rules create an expectation among drivers on the road about what they and other drivers on the road are supposed to do and when, so that there's no confusion and drivers can reasonably predict what the other driver will do, and for as safe a driving system as possible. Therefore, to invent your own alternative right-of-way rules as you go along is absolutely foolish and defeats the purpose of having traffic laws in the first place. Here's a nice, aggravating example. The driver across from us intends to turn left and is required by law to yield to traffic going straight. The lady in front of me decides to make up her own right-of-way rules. So when the light turns green, she gives up her right-of-way.
The IRS doesn't want you
Let's
to
go.
know.
But this could potentially be dangerous in the long run. The next time this driver gets a green light, he or she may mistakenly assume the oncoming driver going straight will just let them go, and may go for it and cause a crash. Then there is the absolutely nonsensical and illogical nice driver. Here's a video I posted a few years ago of one such example. The driver of this red car stops to let this driver turn out. Note that there is no stop sign here.
What's the catch?
Now, think about it for a minute. What actual benefit did this driver provide by stopping as opposed to keeping going? The only thing this driver accomplished was making himself believe he did a good deed, when in fact, his stopping did absolutely nothing to improve this driver's opportunity to turn. He would have turned when he did anyway, whether this guy stopped or not. Humans are supposed to be logical, but what do I know? Again, this makes absolutely no sense. His stopping to let me turn actually provided zero benefit to me, and I could have turned in the exact same amount of time had he kept going. But instances like this are extremely annoying, as their good deed takes things way too far. Here's one such clip I posted recently. He keeps letting everyone in front of him. How many people is this person going to let go? This guy just keeps oh. If you want to be a nice driver, do so by following the rules of the road and taking your right-of-way when it's yours, and not relinquishing it unless you have to. Don't be an overly nice driver, be a sensible driver. A special thanks to How to Drive in Los Angeles for allowing us the use of his close call clip in our educational video. Be sure to check out his channel. Don't forget to subscribe. You do not want to miss out on more excitement.